What if the only thing standing between you and your goals is you? I know this happens. It's not uncommon for us to unconsciously sabotage our progress with self imposed limits. Now, I've been having talks with a few friends who are kind of stuck in this getting going, getting some success, and then somehow there's this drifting off course for several months. And then there's like they're back to either where they were when they started, or even more of weight gain. This happens to be weight loss clients, and we start to analyze this cycle because these mental blocks they can make us hesitant to just even go after other new opportunities or even make changes that are necessary for growth. But why do we defend these limitations? A lot of times we tap into stories like, well, my family's always done this, or I've always been big boned, or my relatives were big boned, or my family's always been overweight, or this is the way life is going to be. And we will say these stories, and hopefully you can relate to some of these. We'll say these stories and defend them when we're questioned, as opposed to saying, you know what, that's right, that is a story. Why do I have to buy into that? That's not my story anymore. And you start rewriting a script. Now, it does take some repetition. I'll share some things with you today. But before we get into all this great stuff, make sure you head over to talktoperry.com. My calendar's wide open for podcast listeners and viewers because you're watching on YouTube, or you might be checking out the app. And it's all about keeping your energy high so that you can literally reach all of your goals, because I want to help you recharge that mental and physical battery of yours so that you can reclaim your power and you're not giving in to these limitations and the self-sabotage and all the stuff that you've kind of been in a cycle. We do that in 15 minutes. Whoa, game changer. 15 minutes. Head over to talktoperry.com. For you on the YouTube, you can see it in the lower third there. Okay. So just kind of a reason. I had a friend. Well, I had a friend. I have a friend. His name is Josh Coates. And I remember him saying one time, our brains are constantly on the lookout for justifying our fears, our worries, our doubts. And I think we can rewrite that and take control of that. But a lot of times the subconscious things, the old programming from how we grew up, where we either through our families, through culture, through school, whatever that is, stories that have been told over and over and over again that maybe we don't even tell ourselves now, but they're still there. They still pop up. Money doesn't grow on trees. This is the way life is going to be. You know, somebody's starving in some sort of country, so you need to eat this food and have a guilt trip about it. You know, so it's those things. And really just, I think our brain's just looking for safety, secure, what's known, and venturing out into unknown territories, even if you're promised improvement and happiness and all the benefits that getting healthy, getting fit can deliver, even when you're like literally guaranteed that, we will have triggers that will just kind of like little flags in our brain that'll be like, yeah, I don't really want to go for that. That might be uncomfortable, and we can craft a story around it to justify not taking any action. And it's really, really interesting because that's the way I was for a long time, where it would get to where I would start a little fitness journey, and then I would come up with a way. The way I describe it is I would always look for a crack and a flaw as to why it wouldn't work for me. That way I didn't have to put in the time and the effort for some sort of where I thought I would end up putting in the time and effort and fail. And I didn't want that rejection. I didn't want that failure. I didn't want to do that. So if I didn't try, then I couldn't, I could blame it and just say, well, there was no time. Well, it was traffic. Well, I was unmotivated. Well, I get bored with exercise. And you can come up with just about any story to get yourself out of it, to not have to do it. Yet you have the desire to get in shape, get healthy, get fit. You want all these benefits, but you're telling yourself the story and you're defending it. And that's when I realized I'm defending this stuff. I don't need to look outside me for validation. I don't need to look outside me for reasons why things aren't working. I need to look within inside me and realize that I need to take responsibility. I'm the one that needs to make the decision. And if I'm making a decision, that means I'm taking action. Sometimes people think making a decision is just having a thought and they're like, yeah, I've made a decision to do this. And then they don't take action on it. They'll like say, well, I'll start on Monday. Well, I'll start next month. Well, I'll start next year. That's just a great glamorized version of procrastination is what that is. So here's a unique tip for you. Well, it's if you haven't done this, you might have said, yeah, I've heard this before, but are you doing it? It's visualizing success instead of focusing on the potential failures. And that's what I was doing. I was like, what if this doesn't work? How can I get out of this? Why not have a vision for my life going forward that no. And if something doesn't go the way I want it, I can change it. I'm in control. I've got the energy. I can do this. I will figure things out. That's the way rock gets carved by a river, not because of the force, but for the constant repetition, for the constant mindset strategies, for the constant action, for the consistency, all the persistency. And so just spending a few minutes every day visualizing and achieving your goals. And it might seem weird at first if you've never done it, but it will get easier. It will get better. That exercise, it helps you rewire the brain. It helps you reduce the fear that's associated with taking on new challenges or potentially self-sabotaging yourself. It gives you the momentum and the motivation to pursue them. Now, I wouldn't rely totally on motivation. A lot of times people put a lot of stock into that, but that's why I do it. And here's a way to practice visualization. It's super simple because we have we can do a screen inside of our mind, a movie inside our mind. It's one, just find some quiet time. Just 5 minutes. You don't have to spend a ton of time. I know you probably went to your to-do list and said, I don't have time, right? So, and that's just old programming. Let's set aside the time, take 5 minutes daily. That can make a significant difference. If you can do it in the morning and a little bit before bedtime, even better. And then be specific about your visualization. Don't just generalize, oh, I'm a little bit lighter, I'm a little bit healthier, I'm a little bit fitter. Go about your day. What it is, what are the actions that you're doing? You're exercising, you're feeling good, you've got more energy, you're at your ideal weight loss goal. What does life look like then? What actions and decisions are you taking? It's not just looking in the mirror and you're all lean and everything like that. You're going about your day. How are you feeling? How are people interacting with you? How are you influencing and impacting people? Getting all that, getting in all the feelings and the vibration and the emotion of what you would experience achieving that goal. And you're not keeping this out on fantasy land. You are just getting into that moment right there on the screen of your mind, and you start incorporating that practice into your daily routine. Now, I do this with a couple of other things in the morning where I'm like doing a little bit of journaling, doing some gratitude practice, doing some breathing, but visualization is big. So maybe doing it right away when you wake up, or right away, toward the end of the day before you go to sleep. That's a big game changer and has made a big difference for me because you shift your focus from the limitations to the possibilities. And that can profoundly impact the actions that you take, the outcome that you're going to do. You'll go from thinking, oh, I'm just doing this thing until I lose a certain amount of weight. You'll be going and saying, I'm going to do this thing and I'm just going to keep going and see where life takes me once I'm at that way, because you'll have new opportunities that come around. Things that you probably haven't even thought of in your imagination. All of a sudden, you'll be able to pop that in there and say, what's next? Where am I going? You just get to that first base camp. You've got your goals. What's next? What's next? A lot of times people think they just need to get to the first base camp and say, well, I just did my little 90-day routine and I'm done. No, there's so much life to live now. Keep going. What's next, right? And by visualizing your success, you're priming your mind. You're rewiring your mind to act in ways in alignment with the interests, the things that you desire, those desired outcomes that you want. So just know you can choose to use your power and take control, use this simple strategy, or you can let excuses, blaming other things, letting external circumstances, defending limitations. I always use this when I do talk about that. But even just the limitations where it's like, I'm big boned, I can't do this, I'm overwhelmed, I'm too old, all these things. And then you defend it. That should be a big indicator to you that you can rewrite that story. Okay? But if you're giving in to those things, you're letting that control you and drain your power. It really boils down to deciding and committing to yourself and your goals and choosing to figure out new ways, looking at possibilities, learning and growing, and keep moving forward. You've got this, my friend. I'd love to hear your top takeaway from today. Drop those down in the comments, please. I will respond. You absolutely rock, my friend. And as always, remember, it's never too late. We'll see you next week. That's another Power Blast podcast in the books. Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember, when you are ready to recharge your battery, make sure you go to talktoperry.com. That's talktoperry.com. That's Perry. And I want to listen. I want to hear, what's going on. I want to help you in that 15-minute call to recharge your battery and reclaim your power so that you're off and running and creating massive momentum toward your dream. Also, every day, I am delivering more motivation, support, tips, and strategies inside my free community with amazing people like yourself. And we are conquering the mindset and the fitness. I do 52 weeks of free training in there. Plus, I coach and I mentor people, as well as give you access to tons of resources and guides. It's called my Upside Down Fitness community because we work on a lot of mindset stuff, the inside stuff. And we're a fun group of people striving to make healthier habits in this awesome chapter of life. So make sure you get in there. I promise you'll absolutely love it. Just head over to upsidedownfit.com and you can get into the group. And hey, you would be an awesome friend if you get over to iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast and leave an honest rating and review for the Power Blast podcast. It helps awesome people like you find this show even faster, and that's who I'm looking for, awesome people like you. That's all I have for this week, my friend, and just to let you know, you absolutely rock. That's all I have for this week. I'll see you on the next Power Blast podcast, and always remember, it's never too late. We'll see you next week.